Hello there. You're feeling it, aren't you? That sense of being completely alone in what you're going through. Like no one else understands. Like no one else has felt this way. Like you're the only one struggling with this particular change. This particular transition. This particular feeling of being lost between what was and what's coming. Maybe you're going through a major life change, an ending, a beginning, a transition, and you feel isolated in it. Like everyone else has their life figured out while you're floundering. Like everyone else handles change gracefully, while you're barely holding on. You look around, and everyone seems fine, stable, secure, moving through life with confidence and clarity. And then there's you, uncertain, anxious, feeling unmoored by change, feeling alone in the struggle. And that loneliness, that sense of isolation, it makes everything worse. Because not only are you dealing with the difficulty of change, but you're dealing with it alone. Or at least, you think you are. You think no one else feels this way. No one else struggles like this. No one else would understand. So you don't reach out. You don't share what you're feeling. You carry it alone. Because you think you're the only one. Because you're embarrassed by your struggle. Because you believe everyone else is handling life better than you are. Take a breath with me. Just one breath. And as you exhale, release some of that isolation, some of that loneliness, some of that belief that you're the only one feeling this way. Let your shoulders drop. Let yourself be here, in this moment, knowing that what I'm about to tell you is true, even if you can't feel it yet. Tonight, we're going to talk about something important, about the universal nature of struggle. About how everyone faces uncertainty during change. About how the feeling of being alone in your experience is itself a common experience. Because here's the truth. You're not alone. You're really not. What you're feeling, millions of people have felt. What you're going through, countless others are going through right now. Your struggle is not unique. Your uncertainty is not isolated. Your difficulty with change is profoundly, deeply, universally human. But you feel alone because people don't talk about it, because everyone performs confidence while privately struggling. Because isolation is part of the human experience during times of change. We all feel alone, even though we're all feeling similar things. So tonight, let's break that isolation. Let's explore the universal nature of change and transition. Let's understand how common your experience actually is. Let's help you see that you're not alone, even though it feels that way. You're not the only one struggling with change. You're not the only one feeling uncertain. You're not the only one feeling lost between what was and what's coming. Everyone feels this way during transitions. Everyone. You're just one of millions feeling isolated while experiencing something completely universal. So you're not alone, even though you feel alone. You're not unique in your struggle, even though it feels unique. You're not the only one, even though isolation makes you think you are. You're human, going through change, feeling what humans feel during change. And that experience, as isolating as it feels, is shared by every human who's ever faced transition, which is every human, ever. You know why you feel alone in this? Because no one talks about it. No one shares their struggle with change. No one admits their uncertainty during transitions. Everyone performs confidence and clarity while privately feeling exactly what you're feeling. You see people on social media. They're posting about their new job, their new relationship, their new city, their new phase of life. And it looks exciting. It looks confident. It looks like they're handling change beautifully, like they're thriving through transition. What you don't see is the private anxiety, the midnight doubts, the fear of the unknown, the grief for what ended, the uncertainty about what's beginning, the feeling of being unmoored and lost. They're feeling all of that. They're just not posting about it. You see people in real life, at work, at social gatherings, in your family, and they seem fine. They seem to have it all together. They seem to handle life changes with grace and ease, like they're not struggling at all. What you don't see is their internal experience, their private uncertainty, their hidden fears, their silent struggles. They're dealing with their own changes and transitions and uncertainties. They're just not showing you that part. Because everyone performs okayness. Everyone presents confidence even when they're uncertain. Everyone shows the highlight reel while hiding the behind-the-scenes struggle. That's what humans do. We hide struggle and show strength. We conceal uncertainty and display confidence. And that creates an illusion. An illusion that everyone else is fine. That everyone else handles change easily. That everyone else has clarity, while you're the only one lost in confusion. That you're uniquely struggling, while everyone else is thriving. But that's not reality. That's just what you see. The performance, the presentation, the curated version, not the actual internal experience, which is probably very similar to yours. Uncertain, anxious, struggling with change, feeling alone in the struggle. So you're not actually alone. You're just surrounded by people who are also hiding their struggle, who are also feeling alone, who are also thinking they're the only ones feeling this way. You're all alone together, all hiding, all performing, all thinking you're unique in your struggle, when actually, you're all experiencing something similar. That's the tragedy of isolation during change. Not that you're actually alone, but that everyone is hiding. So everyone feels alone. Even though everyone is experiencing similar things, you're isolated by collective hiding, separated by shared performance, alone in a crowd of people feeling exactly the same way. So what if people were more honest? What if you saw their actual struggle? What if they shared their uncertainty about change? What if everyone stopped performing and started being real? You'd see that you're not alone, that everyone struggles with change, that uncertainty during transition is universal, that the feelings you're having are completely normal and widely shared. That since most people aren't that honest, since most people perform confidence while hiding struggle, you need to know this intellectually, even if you can't see it socially. You need to trust that your experience is common, even when it feels unique. You need to believe that you're not alone, even when isolation feels absolute. Because you're not alone, even though it feels that way. Your struggle with change is not unique. Your uncertainty during transition is not isolated. What you're feeling, countless others are feeling. You just can't see them, because they're hiding too, just like you are. Let's talk about what's universal about change, about what everyone feels during transitions, about the common experiences that you think are unique to you, but are actually shared by every human facing change. Fear of the unknown. Everyone feels this. When what's familiar ends and what's coming isn't clear yet, everyone feels afraid. Everyone wonders, what if I can't handle this? What if it doesn't work out? What if I made the wrong choice? That fear is universal, not unique to you. Everyone feels it. Grief for what ended. Everyone feels this too. Even when change is positive, even when you chose it, even when it's necessary. There's grief for what was, for the familiar that's ending, for the version of life that's passing. Everyone feels that grief during transitions, not just you. Everyone. Uncertainty about identity. During change, who you were doesn't quite fit anymore. Who you're becoming isn't clear yet, and that creates identity uncertainty. Who am I now? Who am I becoming? Do I still know myself? Everyone feels this during major transitions. It's not just you questioning yourself. It's universal. Feeling unmoored and ungrounded. When the familiar structures of life change, everyone feels adrift. Like you've lost your anchor. Like you're floating without direction. Like nothing feels solid anymore. That's a normal response to change. Everyone experiences it. Not just you. Doubt about capability. Can I handle this? Am I strong enough? Am I capable of navigating this change? Everyone doubts themselves during transitions. Everyone wonders if they have what it takes. That self-doubt is part of change. not evidence you're weak. Universal human experience. Longing for the past, even when the past wasn't perfect, even when change was necessary. Everyone feels nostalgia for what was, romanticizes the familiar, wishes things could go back to how they were. That longing is normal during change. Everyone feels it, not just you. Anxiety about the future. What if it doesn't work out? What if I can't adjust? What if I fail? Everyone feels anxious about uncertain futures. Everyone worries about what's coming. That anxiety during transition is universal, not unique, not evidence you're handling it poorly, just normal. All of these feelings, all of these experiences, they're universal. Every human facing change feels versions of these things. They're not unique to you. They're not evidence you're broken or weak or handling it wrong. They're just what humans feel during change. So when you feel afraid of the unknown, know that everyone facing change feels that fear. When you grieve what ended, know that everyone in transition feels that grief. When you doubt your capability, know that everyone navigating change doubts themselves. When you feel unmoored, know that everyone losing familiar structures feels adrift. You're not unique. You're not alone. You're not the only one. You're human, experiencing what all humans experience during change. Feeling what everyone feels during transitions. Struggling with what is universally difficult about letting go of the familiar and stepping into the unknown. That doesn't make it easier, but it should make it less isolating. You're not alone in these feelings. You're not uniquely struggling. You're normally, humanly, universally experiencing what change creates. What everyone experiences. What's always been difficult about transitions. You're not alone in any of this. In any of these feelings. Every single one of them is shared by everyone facing change, including the feeling of isolation itself. Even that's universal. Everyone feels alone during change, which means you're not alone in feeling alone. You're human, facing change, feeling what humans feel. That's all. Not unique, not isolated. Just human. Just like everyone else. Now let's talk about why isolation during change is so painful. Why feeling alone in transition makes everything harder. Why the belief that no one else understands adds weight to an already difficult experience. When you think you're the only one struggling, you add shame to pain. You think, everyone else can handle this, why can't I? What's wrong with me? And that shame makes the difficulty worse. Because now you're not just struggling with change, you're judging yourself for struggling. When you believe no one else would understand, you don't reach out. You carry everything alone. You don't seek support because you think no one could possibly relate. And that isolation prevents the very thing that could help: connection, understanding, shared experience. When you assume your struggle is unique, you lose perspective. You can't see that what you're experiencing is normal, that transition is hard for everyone, that your difficulty doesn't mean you're weak or broken or handling it wrong. It just means you're human, facing change. When you feel completely alone, hope becomes harder to access. Because you can't see evidence that people get through this, that transitions eventually settle, that uncertainty eventually gives way to new clarity. If you think you're the only one experiencing this, you can't see the countless others who've navigated similar changes and come out okay. So isolation during change isn't just lonely. It's actively harmful. It adds shame, prevents connection, distorts perspective, undermines hope. It makes an already difficult experience significantly worse. But here's what changes when you recognize you're not alone. When you understand that your experience is shared, when you see that what you're feeling is universal, the shame lifts. Because you're not struggling due to personal weakness. You're experiencing what everyone experiences during change. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just human, going through what's difficult for all humans. You can reach out because you know others will understand. Others have felt this way. Others are feeling this way. You're not burdening them with something foreign. You're sharing a common human experience, and that makes connection possible. You gain perspective. You can see that your struggle doesn't mean you're handling it wrong. It means you're experiencing what's naturally difficult about change. And that perspective makes the difficulty more bearable. Not easier, but more understandable, more normal, less shameful. Hope becomes accessible, because if this is a common experience, then getting through it is also common. Millions of people have navigated similar transitions. Most of them have come out okay, eventually found their footing, eventually adjusted to the new normal. That's evidence you can get through this too. So breaking isolation isn't just about feeling less lonely, though that matters. It's about removing shame, enabling connection, restoring perspective, and accessing hope, all of which make navigating change significantly more bearable. You're not alone. And recognizing that, believing that, living from that truth, it changes everything. Not the difficulty of change itself, but your relationship to it, your ability to navigate it, your capacity to get through it. So let go of the belief that you're uniquely struggling, that no one else would understand, that you're alone in this experience. You're not. You're human, facing change, experiencing what all humans experience during transitions. And that's actually comforting, Not because it makes it easy, but because it makes it shared, normal, understandable, survivable. You're not alone. Believe that. Let that truth break the isolation. Let it lift the shame. Let it enable connection. Let it restore hope. You're not alone. Here's something important about change and new beginnings. They require letting go. And letting go is always hard. For everyone, not just you. You're letting go of what was familiar, what you knew how to navigate, what felt safe even if it wasn't perfect. And that letting go creates grief, creates fear, creates uncertainty. For everyone, not just you. You're letting go of a version of yourself, who you were in the old situation, who you were before this change, the identity that fit the old life, and that creates identity confusion. Who am I now? For everyone going through change, not just you. You're letting go of clarity. You knew how things worked in the old situation. You understood the rules. You had routines and systems and familiar patterns. And now you don't. Now everything is uncertain. For everyone in transition, not just you. Letting go is loss. Even when what's coming is better, even when change was necessary, even when you chose it, letting go is still loss, still grief, still difficult, for everyone, always, not just you. But here's what you need to understand. On the other side of letting go is space for something new. New ways of being, new possibilities, new growth, new versions of yourself, new life. You can't have new beginnings without endings. You can't step into what's coming while holding on to what was. You can't become who you're becoming while clinging to who you were. Letting go isn't optional. It's necessary. It's how change works. It's how growth happens. So the grief you feel, the fear, the uncertainty, that's not evidence you're doing it wrong. That's evidence you're doing it right. That's what letting go feels like. For everyone. That's what creating space for new beginnings requires. Releasing what was, even though it's hard. Everyone going through change is experiencing this. The difficulty of letting go. The grief of endings, even when beginnings are coming. The fear of stepping into the unknown, even when staying in the known, is no longer an option. Everyone feels this, not just you. So when you feel grief for what's ending, know that's normal. When you feel fear about letting go, know that's universal. When you resist releasing what was familiar, know that everyone resists. Letting go is hard for everyone. You're not uniquely struggling with it. You're normally struggling with it. And here's what helps. Not pretending letting go is easy. Not shaming yourself for finding it difficult, but acknowledging the difficulty while also trusting the process. Grieving what's ending while also staying open to what's beginning. Feeling the fear while also taking steps forward anyway. That's how you navigate change. Not by pretending it's easy. Not by thinking you should be handling it better. But by acknowledging it's hard, while also continuing to move through it. Feeling all the feelings, while also trusting that on the other side of letting go is space for something new. You're in the hardest part right now. The in-between, where you've let go of what was, but haven't yet fully stepped into what's coming. Where the old is gone, but the new isn't clear yet. Where you're suspended between endings and beginnings. That's the hardest part of change. For everyone. And you're in it. And it's hard. And that's okay. That's normal. That's what this phase feels like. For everyone who's ever been through transition. Not just you. So be gentle with yourself. You're in the hard part. The uncertain part. The part where everyone struggles. You're not handling it poorly. You're handling it humanly. Like everyone else in similar transitions. Struggling. Grieving. Fearing. While also slowly letting go and making space for what's coming. You're not alone in this, in the difficulty of letting go, in the grief of endings, in the uncertainty of in-between spaces. Everyone in transition experiences this, including the feeling of being alone in it. You're not alone, even in feeling alone. Let me tell you what helps when you're feeling isolated during change. What breaks the isolation. What helps you recognize you're not alone, even when it feels that way. First, share what you're experiencing with someone, anyone. A friend, a family member, a therapist, an online community. Someone who might understand because they've been through similar changes. Share honestly. I'm going through this change and I feel completely alone in it. I feel uncertain and afraid. And I don't think anyone else understands. And watch what happens. Watch them relate. I've felt that way. I understand. When I went through something similar, I felt exactly that. Watch isolation break as you realize your experience is shared, as you hear others' similar stories, as you recognize you're not uniquely struggling. Second, listen to others' stories. Read them, hear them. Seek out people who've gone through similar transitions. Listen to how they felt during the change, the uncertainty, the fear, the grief, the difficulty, and recognize the commonality. the universality, the shared experience of change being hard. You'll hear your own feelings reflected back, your own struggles articulated, your own experience validated. And that breaks isolation, because you realize others have felt this way. Others have been where you are. Others have navigated similar transitions. You're not alone. You're just one of many experiencing something difficult, but universal. Third, remind yourself of the universality. When isolation feels overwhelming, when you're convinced no one else could possibly understand, remind yourself intellectually of what you can't feel emotionally. This is a universal human experience. Everyone struggles with change. Everyone feels uncertain during transitions. I'm not unique. I'm not alone. I'm just human, experiencing what's difficult for all humans. That reminder won't make you feel instantly connected, but it can interrupt the spiral of isolation thinking. It can create a small crack in the absolute certainty that you're alone. And that crack is enough to start breaking the isolation. Fourth, be honest about feeling alone. Don't hide it. Don't pretend you're not isolated. Acknowledge it. I feel really alone in this. Say it out loud. To someone, to yourself, to the universe. Acknowledging the isolation is the first step to breaking it. You can't address what you won't acknowledge. Fifth, remember that feeling alone doesn't mean you are alone. Feelings aren't facts. Isolation feels absolute, feels true, feels like reality. But it's not. It's a feeling created by the difficulty of change and the invisibility of others' struggles. You feel alone. You're not actually alone. Those are two different things. Sixth, reach out, even when you don't want to. Even when isolation makes you want to withdraw. Even when you're convinced no one will understand. Reach out anyway. Because isolation feeds itself. The more you isolate, the more alone you feel. The more you isolate. Break the cycle. Reach out. Connect. Even when it feels pointless. Especially when it feels pointless. These actions break isolation. Not perfectly, not immediately, but gradually. Connection by connection. Shared story by shared story. Reminder by reminder. Acknowledgement by acknowledgement. Reach out by reach out. The isolation breaks. The feeling of being completely alone softens. The recognition of shared experience grows. You're not alone, but you have to actively work against the isolation to feel that truth. You have to share, listen, remind yourself, acknowledge, reach out. Make connection, even when isolation makes you want to withdraw. That's how you break it. Not by waiting to feel less alone, but by acting against the isolation, even while feeling alone. Reaching out, connecting, sharing. That's what breaks it. Do that, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Let me tell you what's on the other side of this change. What's waiting once you navigate this transition? What becomes possible when you move through the difficulty of letting go and stepping into new beginnings? You emerge stronger, more resilient, more capable, because you've navigated difficulty. You've faced uncertainty. You've moved through fear. You've let go of what was familiar and stepped into the unknown. And that builds strength, resilience, capacity. You become someone who can handle change, who doesn't crumble when things shift, who can navigate transitions. You discover things about yourself, capabilities you didn't know you had, strength you didn't know you possessed, resilience you hadn't yet needed, flexibility you hadn't yet developed. Change reveals aspects of yourself you only discover through difficulty, through uncertainty, through being pushed beyond what's comfortable. You gain new perspective on what matters, on what doesn't, on what you actually need versus what you just got used to. Change creates distance from old patterns. That distance creates perspective. And that perspective helps you see more clearly, make better choices, align more authentically with what truly matters. You create space for new possibilities, new ways of being, new relationships, new opportunities, new versions of yourself, new life. The letting go created that space. The transition opened those doors. The change made room for something that couldn't exist in the old situation. You develop compassion for yourself and others, because you've experienced how hard change is, how difficult transitions are, how much courage it takes to let go and step into the unknown. And that creates compassion, understanding, gentleness toward yourself and others facing similar difficulties. You join a community of people who've navigated change, who understand the difficulty, who know what it's like to feel unmoored during transition, who've experienced the fear and grief and uncertainty. You're no longer isolated. You're part of the vast community of humans who've faced change and come through it. That's what's waiting. That's what becomes possible. That's what you're moving toward, even though you can't see it yet from where you are. Strength, self-knowledge, perspective, possibility, compassion, community. You can't access those things without going through this difficulty, without navigating this transition, without feeling this fear and uncertainty and grief. The other side requires this side. The growth requires the discomfort. The strength requires the struggle. So you're not just suffering randomly. You're not just enduring difficulty for nothing. You're in the process of becoming, of growing, of developing capabilities and perspectives and compassion that you can only gain through this experience. That doesn't make it easy. That doesn't make it stop hurting. That doesn't make the uncertainty disappear. But it gives it meaning, purpose, direction. You're moving toward something, even when it feels like you're just lost in difficulty. You're moving toward growth, toward new possibilities, toward a stronger, more capable, more compassionate version of yourself. And you're not alone in that journey. Millions of people are moving through similar transitions right now. Millions have made it through before you. Millions will after you. You're part of that vast community of humans facing change, learning from it, growing through it, coming out the other side different than they were, stronger, more capable, more aligned. So keep going through the difficulty, through the uncertainty, through the isolation that feels absolute but isn't. Keep going. What's waiting is worth it. Who you're becoming is worth it. The growth is worth the discomfort. You're not alone in this journey. And what's on the other side makes the difficulty of getting there worthwhile. Barrett, as you lie here feeling isolated in your change, in your transition, in your uncertainty about what's ending and what's beginning, I want you to do something. I want you to connect with the millions of others feeling exactly what you're feeling right now. Take a breath, and as you exhale, imagine releasing the belief that you're alone, that you're the only one, that no one else could possibly understand. Now imagine, right now, at this very moment, millions of people around the world are lying in bed just like you, feeling what you're feeling, facing changes, navigating transitions, feeling uncertain about new beginnings, grieving endings, feeling afraid of the unknown. Someone just lost a job and doesn't know what's next, feeling exactly the uncertainty you feel. Someone just ended a relationship and is facing a new chapter alone, feeling exactly the fear you feel. Someone just moved to a new city and doesn't know anyone yet, feeling exactly the unmooredness you feel. Someone's identity is shifting and they don't know who they're becoming, feeling exactly the confusion you feel. Someone's life changed in ways they didn't choose and they're struggling to adapt, feeling exactly the resistance you feel. Someone's letting go of what was familiar, and it's harder than they expected. Feeling exactly the grief you feel. They're all there, right now, millions of them, feeling what you're feeling, going through similar transitions, facing similar uncertainties, experiencing similar fears and griefs and doubts. You're not alone. You're one of millions feeling this way at this exact moment. And beyond the people feeling it right now, think of everyone who's ever felt this way. Every human who's ever faced change, who's ever navigated transition, who's ever felt uncertain during new beginnings. That's billions of people. Throughout all of history, every single one of them felt something similar to what you're feeling. You're part of that, part of the vast human experience of change being difficult, part of the universal struggle with transitions, part of the shared experience of uncertainty during endings and beginnings. You're not alone. You're deeply, profoundly connected to every human who's ever faced change. And most of them made it through. Most of them found their footing eventually. Most of them adjusted to the new normal. Most of them discovered that what felt impossibly difficult became manageable, that what felt endlessly uncertain eventually found clarity, that what felt devastatingly unfamiliar eventually became familiar. They made it through, and you will too, not because you're special, but because you're human. And humans are remarkably capable of adapting, of adjusting, of finding their way through transitions, of surviving change, of eventually thriving in new normals. So you're not alone right now. As you lie here, you're connected to millions facing similar changes, to billions who've faced similar transitions throughout history, to the universal human experience of change being difficult but navigable. Feel that connection. Even if you can't see it, even if it doesn't feel real. Know it intellectually. Trust it spiritually. You're not alone. You're part of something vast, universal, shared. The human experience of change. And that community, though invisible, is real, and it holds you, even when you feel isolated. You're held by the shared experience, by the universality, by everyone who's ever been where you are. You're not alone. You never were. You just couldn't see the others. But they're there. Millions of them, right now. Feeling what you're feeling. going through what you're going through. And all of you will make it through. Together, even if separately. Connected, even while isolated. Part of something universal, even while feeling uniquely alone. You're not alone. Rest in that tonight. Trust that. Let that be what carries you through. Let me tell you what you need to remember when isolation threatens to overwhelm you. When the feeling of being completely alone in your change becomes unbearable. When you're convinced no one else could possibly understand. Your experience is valid, whether or not others understand it, whether or not you can see others going through it. Your experience is real. Your feelings are valid. Your struggle is legitimate. Even if you feel alone in it, even if you can't see others experiencing it, it's still real, still valid, still worthy of acknowledgement and compassion. You don't need others to validate your experience for it to be real. But also, know that others are experiencing similar things, even if you can't see them. Both things are true. Your experience is valid on its own, and you're not alone in experiencing it, even though it feels that way. Change is universally difficult, not just for you, for everyone. Every human who's ever lived has struggled with transitions, has felt uncertain during change, has grieved endings while fearing beginnings. That difficulty is part of being human, not evidence you're handling it poorly, just evidence you're human. Feeling alone doesn't mean you are alone. Isolation is a feeling, a powerful feeling, a convincing feeling. But feelings aren't facts. You feel alone. That's real. But you're not actually alone. That's also real. Both things can be true simultaneously. Reaching out is courage, not weakness. When isolation tells you to withdraw, reaching out anyway takes courage. Real courage. The courage to be vulnerable, to share struggle, to admit you're not okay, to ask for connection. That's strength, not weakness. Others want to help. They're just waiting for you to let them. Most people want to be there for others, want to offer support, want to help during difficult times. They're not reaching out because they don't see your struggle. You're hiding it. If you let them see, most will want to help. Let them. This phase is temporary. The intense uncertainty, the overwhelming isolation, the feeling of being completely lost in transition. It's temporary, not permanent, not forever. Just this phase, the in-between, which ends eventually. New clarity comes. New normalcy establishes. The intensity fades. This is temporary. You're stronger than you know, capable of more than you think, able to navigate difficulty you don't yet believe you can handle. You're proving that right now by continuing, by not giving up, by moving through this even though it's hard. You're stronger than you know. The difficulty is revealing that strength. You're not alone, even when isolation feels absolute, even when you're convinced no one else understands, even when you can't see anyone else experiencing similar things. You're not alone. Millions are feeling this way, right now, with you, even if separately, even if invisibly. You're not alone. These truths, hold on to them, especially when isolation threatens to overwhelm, when you're convinced you're completely alone, when you can't see how universal your experience is. Remember these truths. They remain true even when feelings say otherwise, even when isolation feels absolute. These truths remain. You're not alone. Your experience is valid. Change is universally difficult. Feeling alone doesn't mean you are alone. Reaching out is courage. Others want to help. This phase is temporary. You're stronger than you know. Believe these things. Trust these things. Live from these things, especially when isolation makes them feel untrue. They're true. They're real. They're what will carry you through this transition. These truths, hold them, believe them, trust them. You're not alone. There comes a moment in your life where everything feels unfamiliar. Not wrong, not broken, just different. Like you woke up one morning and the version of you that used to fit doesn't fit anymore. You look at the things you used to want and they don't feel the same. You look at the places you used to run to and they don't bring you comfort. You look at the people you used to rely on and realize you've outgrown conversations you once begged to be part of. It's strange, isn't it, to feel yourself changing before you have the words to explain it, to feel your soul shifting before your mind catches up, to feel something ending without knowing what's waiting to begin. But listen, this feeling is not a mistake. It's a sign, a quiet pull, a gentle invitation to start over in ways you never allowed yourself to before. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a clear destination. You don't even need to know what you truly want yet. You just need the courage to stop forcing yourself to stay in places your spirit has already left. Starting over does not mean you failed. It means you're giving yourself a chance to grow into the person you were always meant to become. Sometimes life removes what's familiar so you can finally see what's possible. Sometimes you lose things you were never meant to keep. Sometimes you're pushed into the unknown because staying the same would cost too much of your soul. And yes, it's scary. Yes, it feels uncomfortable. Yes, you may doubt yourself every step of the way. But remember this: every new beginning feels uncertain. Every transformation feels messy at first. Every chapter you've ever grown through started with a moment where you weren't sure what would happen next. And yet, you made it through all of them. You learned. You adapted. You survived things you once thought would break you. And here you are again, standing at the doorway of a chapter built for your next becoming. You don't need to rush. You don't need to pretend you're confident. You don't need to have everything figured out today. Starting over is a slow unfolding, a quiet rebuilding, a returning to yourself without apology. So take the step, even if it's small, even if it's shaky, even if all you know is that you can't stay where your heart no longer feels alive. You're allowed to begin again, not because you lost your way, but because you're finally ready to follow the path meant for you. And this time, you won't have to abandon yourself to walk it. There's a quiet pressure you've been carrying, a pressure no one else sees. The pressure to move on quickly, to get over things fast, to act strong even when your heart still feels tender. You tell yourself, I should be fine by now. I shouldn't still be thinking about this. I shouldn't let this affect me anymore. But healing doesn't follow a deadline. It doesn't move on command. It doesn't respond to pressure or pretend everything is okay just because you want it to be. Healing moves in waves. Some days you feel like you're finally free, finally lighter, finally stepping forward. And then suddenly, without warning, your chest tightens again. Old thoughts return. Old wounds reopen. And you feel like you've taken 100 steps backward, but you didn't. That's just part of the process. You're not failing. You're feeling. And feeling is not weakness. It's proof that you're alive and growing and becoming someone who refuses to stay numb. You don't need to heal quickly. You don't need to act strong to make others comfortable. You don't need to pretend that nothing ever hurt you. You're allowed to move slowly. You're allowed to take your time. You're allowed to still be learning how to let go. Your healing is not a race towards some imaginary finish line. It's a returning, a softening, a remembering of who you are without all the pain you've carried. And no, it won't always make sense. Some days you will understand yourself clearly. Other days you won't. Some days you'll feel steady. Other days you'll feel lost. But none of that means you're broken. It means you're human. And healing, real healing, is never a straight line. You're learning to sit with your emotions instead of running from them. You're learning to be gentle with yourself instead of criticizing your slow steps. You're learning to trust that even the days that feel heavy are still days moving you forward. There is no shame in needing more time, more space, more quiet, more softness. Your heart has carried more than most people will ever know. Of course, it needs time to learn how to feel safe again. So tonight, release the pressure you've placed on your own chest. Tell yourself gently, I am healing at my own pace, and that pace is enough. You don't have to prove anything. Not your strength, not your resilience, not your progress. Just keep showing up. Keep breathing through the tough moments. Keep choosing yourself even when you're tired. Healing isn't about speed. It's about truth. And the truth is, you're doing better than you've been giving yourself credit for. Slow healing is still healing. Small steps are still steps. And you are still becoming. There comes a moment in your journey when the things you once held on to start to feel heavy. Not because they're bad, not because you failed, but because you've grown beyond the version of yourself that first chose them. It's strange, isn't it, how something that once felt comforting can now feel suffocating. How conversations that once felt alive now leave you drained. How places that once felt like home now feel too small for the person you're becoming. But here's the truth your heart has been whispering quietly. You are allowed to step away from anything that no longer feels right. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need to justify your shift to anyone who doesn't feel it with you. Your soul knows when something isn't aligning anymore. It knows when the energy changes. It knows when the chapter is ending, even before your mind is ready to accept it. And that's okay. Endings don't mean you're doing something wrong. Endings mean you're listening. You've spent so much of your life trying to hold on to things because you were afraid to let go, afraid of hurting someone, afraid of standing alone, afraid of choosing yourself in a world that taught you self-sacrifice was noble. But holding on can hurt you just as deeply as leaving can, sometimes even more. It's not selfish to walk away from what drains you. It's not unkind to protect your own peace. It's not cold to honor the changes happening inside you. You are not abandoning anyone. You are returning to yourself. There are habits you've outgrown. There are connections you've evolved past. There are versions of you that no longer reflect who you are now. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally care enough to choose truth over comfort, growth over familiarity, alignment over attachment. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Letting go always does. Your mind will cling to the familiar, even if it hurts. Your heart will hesitate, even when it knows the way. But keep listening. Keep trusting that quiet pull. Keep honoring the way your inner world is guiding you forward. You're not meant to stay in places your spirit has outgrown. You're not meant to settle for things that no longer nourish you. You're not meant to shrink yourself just to keep something that was only meant for an earlier chapter of your life. You are allowed to choose peace over pressure. You are allowed to choose clarity over confusion. You are allowed to choose yourself over the expectations of others. Your life is expanding in ways you can't see yet. New people, new opportunities, new softness, new beginnings. They are already making their way toward you. But they cannot enter if you keep holding the door open for what's meant to be left behind. So breathe. Let go gently. Step forward softly. You're not losing anything. You're making space. Space for the future. Space for the version of you that you're finally ready to meet. There is a quiet shame you've carried for years. The shame of changing your mind. The shame of no longer wanting what you once said you wanted. The shame of realizing that the path you committed to no longer feels like the path your heart wants to walk. You were taught that changing your mind makes you unreliable, that shifting directions means you failed, that walking away from something you once said yes to makes you inconsistent or weak. But here's the truth you've never been told clearly enough. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to outgrow decisions that were made from old versions of you. You are allowed to choose again without carrying guilt or apologizing for the evolution happening inside you. You don't have to stay loyal to a choice that no longer aligns with who you're becoming. Think about it. You're not the same person you were last year, last month, even last week. Your values are shifting. Your priorities are maturing. Your heart is learning what it truly needs. Why would you expect your decisions to stay frozen when you are constantly growing? Changing your mind is not a failure. It's a sign of growth, a sign of awareness, a sign that you're finally listening to the version of yourself that's trying to emerge. Maybe the job you once imagined no longer feels right. Maybe the relationship you held on to no longer fits the shape of your heart. Maybe the dreams you once chased no longer feel like they belong to you. And that's okay. You don't need to cling to an old dream just because you spent time wanting it. Time invested does not mean you owe your future to your past. You are allowed to shift direction mid-journey. You are allowed to pause and reevaluate. You are allowed to admit, this doesn't feel like me anymore. That isn't quitting. That's alignment. Letting go of something that no longer resonates is an act of courage. It means you trust yourself enough to choose truth over familiarity, clarity over comfort, growth over guilt. You don't owe anyone consistency at the cost of your own soul. You don't owe anyone explanations for changes they'll never understand. You don't owe anyone the old you just because they're attached to who you used to be. People who care for you will allow you to evolve. They won't shame you for choosing a different path. They won't hold your past against your future. And the people who do, they were only committed to a version of you that no longer exists. Let them cling to their story. You're writing a new one. So, tonight, tell yourself softly, I am allowed to change. I am allowed to choose again. I am allowed to walk in a direction that feels true to who I am now. Your life is not a contract you signed when you were younger. Your choices are not handcuffs. Your past is not a prison. You are evolving. You are unfolding. You are becoming someone who deserves decisions that honor who you are today, not who you once were. Change your mind. Change your direction. Change your story. You're not lost. You're realigning. And that's the most honest form of growth. There comes a point in your life where you realize you've been gripping pain long after it stopped serving you. Not because you want to suffer, but because the pain became familiar, predictable. A place you learned to sit even when it burned you. Slowly. You hold on to memories that no longer comfort you. You hold on to people whose presence feels heavier than their absence. You hold on to patterns that drain your spirit only because they're the ones you've known the longest. You tell yourself, I can handle it. I've survived worse. It will get better someday. But not everything you endure is meant to be endured forever. Not every weight you carry is meant to stay on your shoulders. Not every connection that once mattered still deserves space in your life today. You are allowed to let go of what hurts you, even if you once loved it, even if it once felt safe. Even if a part of you still hopes it might change. Letting go is not betrayal. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is not weakness. Letting go is choosing yourself. And that choice, it takes courage. It takes strength. It takes a level of honesty you weren't taught to practice. Honesty about what your heart feels, what your soul needs, and what your future deserves. Some things fall away because they're meant to. Because life knows you can't grow roots in soil that only drains you. Because your spirit knows you can't rise while holding on to what keeps you low. Look at your life gently. Notice what tenses your chest. Notice who leaves you exhausted after every conversation. Notice what makes you feel small, unseen, or unworthy. Those are signs, whispers, warnings. Quiet truths your heart tries to tell you every day. You don't need to punish yourself by staying in places your soul is begging you to leave. You don't need to cling to people who show you repeatedly that they cannot hold your heart well. You don't need to keep choosing what keeps hurting you. The moment you decide to let go, really let go, something inside you expands. Your breath becomes deeper. Your mind becomes clearer. Your chest becomes lighter. Your spirit becomes free in ways you forgot were possible. There is a version of you that exists on the other side of release. A version who sleeps easier, who smiles softer, who trusts deeper, who finally feels like themselves again. You don't meet that version by holding on. You meet them by loosening your grip, slowly, gently, honestly. And I promise you this: you will not lose anything real by letting go of what hurts you. You will only lose the weight that has kept you from rising. So breathe, unclench, free yourself. You deserve a life that doesn't hurt to hold. There comes a moment in your healing when you start noticing that people around you don't fully understand what you're going through. They see your distance and think you're being cold. They see your silence and assume you're upset. They see your boundaries and convince themselves you're changing in ways they don't approve of. But what they don't see is the inner work, the fears you're facing quietly, the patterns you're breaking silently, the heaviness you're unlearning, one breath at a time. They don't see how much you've held inside for years, how much you carried without complaint, how much you swallowed just to keep the peace. They don't see the nights you spent thinking, reflecting, trying to understand yourself instead of running from your truth. And because they don't see it, they won't always understand why you're pulling back, why you're quieter now, why you choose peace over noise, why you no longer tolerate what you once accepted. But here's the truth: you don't owe an explanation to anyone. Your healing is not a performance. It is not a group project. It is not something you need to justify, defend, or make palatable for others. You're not healing to make others comfortable. You're healing to finally breathe, to finally feel like yourself again, to finally stop abandoning your own needs just to keep a connection alive. It's okay if some people don't get it. It's okay if they think you've changed. It's okay if they don't support the shifts you're making. They don't have to. Your healing is for you, not for them. There will always be people who want access to the old you because the old you was easier for them, more convenient, less aware, less honest. But you're evolving now. You're waking up. You're becoming someone who finally listens to their own voice, someone who finally respects their own needs, someone who finally chooses themselves without guilt. And that kind of growth will always confuse the people who benefited from your silence. Don't shrink yourself to fit their understanding. Don't dim your healing to match their comfort. Don't apologize for becoming someone healthier, wiser, and more grounded. Your heart knows what it's doing. Your soul knows what it needs. Your journey doesn't require anyone else's approval. So walk forward gently, confidently, quietly. Let people think what they want. Let them tell their stories. Let them misunderstand you if they must. You don't need to explain why you're healing. You don't need to explain why you're changing. You don't need to explain why you're choosing yourself. You're allowed to grow without permission. You're allowed to heal without an audience. You're allowed to transform without explaining every step. Your healing is yours, sacred, personal, real. And the right people will feel it, respect it, and honor it without needing a single explanation. A version of you that learned to survive everything by pretending nothing hurts. A version that kept going, even when your heart was breaking quietly. A version that smiled, even when you felt empty inside. A version that said, "I'm fine," because you didn't want to inconvenience anyone with the truth. You've carried strength like it was your only identity. You've carried responsibility like it was your duty. You've carried pain like it was something you deserved to hold alone. But listen, you don't have to keep proving that you're strong. Not like that. Not in the way that costs you yourself. Strength isn't pretending. Strength isn't silence. Strength isn't holding everything in until your chest aches and your mind spins and your soul feels tired in ways you can't explain. Strength can be softness. Strength can be honesty. Strength can be saying, "This is heavy for me. This hurts me more than I show. I need time. I need space. I need rest." You are not weak for needing support. You are not dramatic for feeling deeply. You are not a burden for admitting you're struggling. You've been strong for so long that you forgot you're allowed to be human too. You can break down and still be worthy. You can cry and still be powerful. You can ask for help and still be capable. Being strong all the time has exhausted you. You've held people up even when no one held you. You've saved others even when you couldn't save yourself. You've listened, supported, protected, but rarely allowed anyone to do the same for you. But your heart deserves rest. Your body deserves gentleness. Your soul deserves space to breathe without feeling guilty. You don't owe the world a perfectly held together version of you. You don't need to wear armor to be loved. You don't need to hide your pain to be respected. The people meant for your life won't flinch at your vulnerability. They won't step back when you tell the truth. They won't love you less when you stop pretending you're invincible. They'll lean in. They'll stay. They'll understand. And if they don't, that says more about them than it ever will about you. So tonight, give yourself permission to stop carrying everything alone. Put the weight down, even for a moment. Breathe without performing. Rest without apologizing. You don't need to keep proving that you're strong. You're already strong, simply because you continue to try, even when your heart is tired. Let yourself be human. Let yourself be real. Let yourself be held instead of always holding. Strength is not the absence of weakness. Strength is the courage to be honest about it. There comes a point in your life where you look at the people around you and realize you've been holding them up far more than they've ever held you. You've been the listener, the fixer, the supporter, the safe place, the strong one in every moment they needed something, even when you had nothing left to give. You've carried their pain on top of your own. You've carried their responsibilities when they avoided them. You've carried their emotions while suppressing yours. And somewhere along the way, you began to believe that this was normal, that this was love, that this was your role. But listen to me gently. You are not responsible for holding together people who refuse to hold themselves. You cannot fix someone who has no intention of changing. You cannot save someone who isn't willing to save themselves. You cannot keep sacrificing your peace for people who mistake your kindness for a permanent safety net. Being supportive is beautiful. Being compassionate is beautiful. But losing yourself in the process of supporting others is not. Some people don't want growth. They want comfort. They want convenience. They want someone to rescue them from the consequences of their own choices. And you have played that role for far too long. You've carried guilt for stepping back. You've carried fear of looking selfish. You've carried shame for choosing yourself over their chaos. But choosing yourself is not abandonment. It is balance. It is clarity. It is knowing that you cannot pour from a heart that has been drained dry. You are allowed to step away from one-sided emotional labor. You are allowed to protect your peace when someone else refuses to protect their own. You are allowed to say, "I love you, but I cannot carry this for you anymore." That is not coldness. That is maturity. That is responsibility. The kind that begins with your own well-being. Because here's the truth. The people who truly care for you won't depend on you to fix their lives. They won't drain you with their lack of effort. They won't place their weight on your shoulders as if you're obligated to hold everything together. Healthy people meet you halfway. They take accountability. They care for you as much as you care for them. They contribute. They communicate. They show up. Love should not feel like constant exhaustion. Friendship should not feel like emotional debt. Support should not feel like self-sacrifice. You deserve relationships where you are not carrying everything. You deserve connections that don't require you to abandon yourself. You deserve people who walk with you, not people who let you drag them forward. So breathe, release the guilt, and step back where you need to. You are not responsible for carrying people who refuse to carry themselves. You are only responsible for honoring your own heart, your own energy, your own becoming. And you're finally learning how to do that. There comes a stage in your journey where you start seeing clearly what drains you and what nourishes you, who brings calm and who brings chaos, what feels aligned and what feels heavy. And the more aware you become, the more you realize how much of your life was spent asking for permission to choose peace, permission to rest, permission to walk away, permission to say no, permission to not attend every argument someone tries to pull you into, permission to protect your space without feeling guilty. You waited for people to understand you before you allowed yourself to move. You waited for someone to validate your decision before making it. You waited for approval from the very people who benefited from your discomfort. But listen, you don't need anyone's permission to choose peace. Not your family's, not your friends, not the people who misunderstand you, not the ones who think they know what's better for your life than you do. Peace is your responsibility. Peace is your right. Peace is something you're allowed to choose quietly, fully, without explanation. Sometimes peace looks like distance. Sometimes peace looks like silence. Sometimes peace looks like stepping away from conversations that always lead nowhere. Sometimes peace looks like letting go of people who keep choosing chaos over growth. Not because you're cold, not because you're indifferent, but because your nervous system can no longer survive in environments that constantly ask you to betray yourself. You've reached a point where protecting your well-being matters more than defending your decisions, more than being liked, more than maintaining connections that no longer feel safe. And that, right there, is growth. You're learning that you don't have to stay where your heart feels anxious. You don't have to respond to every demand placed on your time and energy. You don't have to keep the peace externally while destroying your peace internally. Your peace is not negotiable, not anymore. And yes, some people will not like it. Some will call you distant. Some will say you've changed. Some will take your boundaries personally because they were comfortable when you had none. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them create their stories. Your life doesn't belong to their expectations. Your healing doesn't need their approval. Your peace doesn't require their permission. You are finally realizing that you get to choose what stays and what goes, what you tolerate and what you walk away from, what you allow and what you no longer entertain. And you're choosing peace, not because it's easy, but because you've lived long enough in the opposite of it. You deserve a life that doesn't feel like a constant battle. You deserve mornings that feel light, nights that feel safe, relationships that feel calm. So choose peace, unapologetically, quietly, confidently. You don't need permission. You just need courage. And courage is something you already have. There comes a moment in your journey when you realize that people around you are responding to a version of you that no longer exists. A version who tolerated more. A version who apologized for everything. A version who kept quiet to avoid conflict. A version who gave endlessly just to feel needed. a version who carried guilt for wanting even a little space. And now that you're growing, now that you're softening, now that you're becoming more honest with yourself and with life, some people don't know how to handle it. They say, "You've changed," as if it's an insult, as if staying the same forever was the goal, as if evolving is something to be ashamed of. But you didn't change to hurt anyone. You changed because your soul demanded it. You changed because you became aware of how much you were sacrificing. You changed because life forced you to meet a deeper truth. You changed because staying the same would have meant losing yourself. And the truth is, not everyone will come with you. Not everyone will understand the shifts happening inside you. Not everyone will respect the boundaries that the old you never set. Not everyone will clap for the healing you fought so hard to begin. Some people loved you because you didn't love yourself enough yet. Some people stayed because you didn't ask for what you truly needed. Some people were comfortable because you kept yourself small to make room for them. But you're not that person anymore. You're learning, growing, unfolding. And growth requires release. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of alignment. When your spirit rises, some relationships won't rise with it. When your clarity sharpens, some connections fade by themselves. When your heart opens, it becomes easier to see who can meet you there and who cannot. This isn't abandonment. This is evolution. This is truth. This is the natural shifting of a soul moving forward. You don't have to feel guilty for outgrowing people. You don't have to shrink to make them comfortable. You don't have to hold on to bonds that keep pulling you backward. You can love people and still let them go. You can cherish the memories and still choose a different future. You can wish them well and still walk away. Your journey isn't meant to stay in one chapter forever. Your heart isn't meant to stay in the same emotional patterns. Your spirit isn't meant to stay surrounded by people who prefer the old you over the healed you. Let them think you've changed, because you have. Beautifully, quietly, courageously. And the people meant for your future will recognize this new version of you, not as too much or different or distant, but as someone finally stepping into their truth. You didn't lose them. You simply returned to yourself. And that kind of return will always feel like coming home. Exists. So here we are at the end of our time together tonight. And I hope something has shifted for you. I hope you see that you're not alone in this feeling, that your struggle with change is not unique, that feeling isolated during transition is itself a universal experience, that you're one of millions feeling this way right now. You've been feeling completely alone, convinced no one else could understand, certain that everyone else handles change better than you do. Isolated in your uncertainty and fear and grief about endings and beginnings. But you're not alone. You never were. You just couldn't see the others. Couldn't see that they're hiding their struggle too. Couldn't see that everyone feels uncertain during change. Couldn't see the universality of what you're experiencing. Sleep tonight, knowing you're part of something vast. The human experience of change being difficult, of transitions being uncertain, of new beginnings being scary even when they're exciting, of letting go being hard even when it's necessary. You're part of that, connected to everyone who's ever experienced it, which is everyone. Ever. Tomorrow, when isolation threatens again, remember what we talked about tonight. You're not uniquely struggling. You're normally, humanly, universally experiencing what's difficult about change, what everyone experiences during transitions. And reach out to someone, anyone. Share what you're experiencing. I'm going through this change and I feel really alone in it. And watch them relate. Watch isolation break as you realize others understand. Others have felt this way. Others are feeling this way. You're not alone. Stop hiding your struggle. Stop performing confidence you don't feel. Stop protecting everyone from your uncertainty. Be real. Be vulnerable. Share what you're actually experiencing. That's how you break isolation. Not by feeling less alone, but by sharing anyway. By connecting despite the feeling. By being honest about the struggle. Trust the process of change. Trust that what feels impossibly difficult now will eventually become manageable. Trust that new beginnings eventually become familiar normals. Trust that you have the capacity to navigate this transition. Because you're human. And humans are remarkably adaptable. Especially when they're not trying to do it completely alone. You're in transition. In the hard part. The in-between. Where endings have happened, but beginnings aren't clear yet. Where the familiar is gone, but the new hasn't solidified. That's the hardest part. For everyone. And you're in it. And it's hard. And that's okay. You're not alone in finding it hard. You're not uniquely struggling. You're not the only one feeling uncertain and afraid and unmoored. You're human. Experiencing what all humans experience during change. Feeling what everyone feels during transitions. Part of something universal, even though it feels isolating. Good night, dear friend. You're not alone in this feeling. You're not alone in this change. You're not alone in this transition. You're part of something vast, universal, shared. The human experience of change being difficult but navigable, of feeling alone while actually being connected to millions experiencing similar things. You're not alone. Believe that. Trust that. Live from that. Reach out from that. Share from that. Connect from that. You're not alone. And what's on the other side of this transition is worth moving through the difficulty to reach. New possibilities, new growth, new strength, new perspective, new beginnings that eventually become comfortable normals. It's worth it. And you're capable of navigating it, especially when you're not trying to do it completely alone. So stop isolating. Start connecting. Stop hiding. Start sharing. Stop believing you're uniquely struggling. Start recognizing you're universally struggling, with everyone else facing change, together, even if separately, connected, even while feeling isolated. You're not alone. You never were. You're part of something vast. Trust that. Rest in that. Connect from that. Sweet dreams. You're not alone.